You're listening to Tabletop Arcanum, a podcast dedicated to learning and exploring the hobby of tabletop gaming. Your hosts are Justin Taylor and Richard Geese, so sit back and relax as we talk, discuss, and joke our way through the hobby we love so much. No guarantee is made that this book was or was not removed from a horde of a dragon. Be aware that items taken from Dragon's Horde may carry traces of the dragon's inherent magic, even long after they are removed from said horde. Exposure to another dragon's horde could reawaken the magic with unpredictable results. Welcome to Tabletop Arcanum. This is Justin, and today I'm bringing you a review of the brand new Fizban's Treasury of Dragons for Dungeons & Dragons 5th edition. This is the newest source book. It's not an adventure book this time, and it's all about half of the game. So we've seen a lot of books about dungeons. This is the 5th edition version of the Book of Dragons. So let's dive into that. It does have that MSRP of $49.95. Your friendly local game store does have the alternative cover, which is going to be shown in ours, because both covers, though, are exquisitely fun to look at. I will say the critique I have on this alt cover is it has a little bit too much gold and red tones. Makes sense for the gold dragon, makes a little less sense for the crystal dragon. If it was a gold and red dragon fighting, it would make a lot more dynamic imagery to it. And one negative that the nice holographic looking shine to them is oils and fingerprints do show up on these covers rather easily. So if you're looking at a scene book cover, then this may not be the book cover for you, is the alt art. Let's talk about what this book is and isn't first, and then we will dive into what I liked in it and what I didn't like, and then we'll dive further into who this book I think is for and who should step aside. It is a source book and deals a lot between players and DMs, so there are new sub-races and new options for character creation, as well as some new magic, as well as some new magic items, and that's all for the players. So if you wanted to get your character into something more dragon themed or powered by dragon or patroned by a dragon, likewise some of the spells are fun and interesting, and we'll just add to that ever-growing list of options for your spellcasters. Now, for the DMs, there's a lot more of how to roleplay with a dragon, how to use layers and options with death, undeath of a dragon, echoes within the world, religion. Famously, dragons do a lot of shapeshifting. Bahamut in lore shapeshifts and walks a material plane amongst the normal mortals often. They have a whole chapter on layers and hordes, which is a fun chapter to go through because you have an entire way to generate dragon hordes and fun and interesting items that could be found within those, as well as how to link various hordes with items, not just the Rod of Seven Parts, but other ones as well. And then finally, there is a bestiary adding about 20-ish more monsters to the book. Now, most of them are dragon-themed or expand upon dragons. The biggest notation on this is not only the crystal dragons, the neutral style dragons that are first introduced into this edition, but also things like the great worms, which are your step above ancient dragons. So lots of interesting things in there. Plenty of little sidebars and commentary on here from Fizban. So the book itself has a lot going into it. And what this book isn't is not a redo of the dragons, who are critically said to be a little bit on the weaker side in the 5th edition system. It does address some of that, but we're not changing the stat blocks or how dragons work, but we're giving you extra tools as a DM to operate with them. Things I did enjoy about this book. Let's go good notes first. Notoriously, Dungeons & Dragons has almost always been, especially in 5th edition, light on the dragons, heavy in the dungeons. So I'm very happy to see that shot in the arm for the other half of the namesake. The Gem Dragons have always been kind of a neat place for me. I like including the fact that there is a neutral faction of dragons now. I am also an Eberron fan, so typically with dragons in my games, I throw alignment out the window. A red doesn't have to be chaotic nor evil, and a gold doesn't have to be necessarily lawful or good. So that's not true with every table. Some people want that stereotypical metallic and chromatic divide, and the Gem Dragons hit that neutrality line for that 3 arc spectrum. Some of the Character options I did enjoy. Specifically, I liked the sub-races with the Dragonborn because they now divide between chromatic, metallic, and gem Dragonborn, and flavor them to align with those types of dragons a lot better. So I think those are really nice. Feats were give or take, but I think there are some tools here that if you want to have a non-Dragonborn or non-character, there are ways to infuse dragons into your backstory, your character, in that growth. And I think that is a fantastic thing. Likewise, the expansion upon how to roleplay, get in that mindset of a dragon, but also how to use things like the dragon's minions, how to build campaigns surrounding dragon events. But regional effects and layer effects are probably the strongest things in this book that I want to say are great takeaways for the DM. Doesn't fix the fact that dragons feel underweaked, but it gives you other options to build encounters in such a way where it's not just the threat of the dragon, but it's the threat of the layer and threat of the area compounded with the dragon that lives there that makes it extra deadly and extra dangerous for your players. Those are some good things on there. I also do enjoy more dragon-like creatures, and some of them got a little funky. You not only have the Eye Drake, which is like a beholder dragon smash up, but you have the Elder Brain Dragon, which is a dragon Mind Flare smash up. The art on those are fantastic, but the concept behind them is a little funky, so use them as you seem fit. Let's talk about some of the things that this book did not address that I was kind of hoping for. There was a little bit of me that was hoping for maybe some ways to tweak the dragons themselves and not just the layers and the and I think a lot of people might be looking into this book for that and will not be finding it directly. The indirect approach, while nice, I think could have been a little bit more redone. We've already seen Wizards of the Coast put the Artificer in 2 different books. We've seen a couple different things reprinted or restatted. So I could have seen a updated version of the dragons that would bring them a little bit more into that deadly power line that they should be at. One thing I wasn't a fan of in this edition was the look behind the gem dragons. Their gems and stuff are actually like floating crystals behind where their spines and stuff would be. It just seems off. Now, naturally, they're psychic style creatures, which is part of the whole gem dragon motif, and some of those floating crystals would have been interesting to see in the art, but I feel having them have crystalline spikes would have connected to them would have made a bigger impact for me. There is a lot of pages dedicated to just sample layers of each of the colors of dragons, both chromatic, metallic, and gem. And unfortunately, while there's some really nice ideas within there, I think they could have trimmed those in such a way to not take up so many page counts. It was almost a third of the book, whereas I feel some other sections could have been expanded upon a little bit more, maybe a little bit more magic, a little bit more items, even a little bit more in the character creation. We're talking maybe 10 pages for character creation. We're talking another 10 pages worth of magic, and that's about it. Overall, this book is heavily skewed towards the DMs. If you're a DM who wants to infuse dragons into your world or use them in fun and new creative ways, I think there's a lot of story nuggets in here that you can find and incorporate into your lore in your game. I believe there's a lot you can lift, even in those layer sections that take up a bulk of the book, for your particular encounter. As far as players go, if you are looking for a dragon-based character, whether you want to infuse your Dragonborn a little bit more or play a monk-themed dragon or a ranger who works with dragons or any number of those connections, this book has those story seed ideas. Just know is a very small sampling within the book, and there is a lot more guided towards the DMs. So, in my opinion, most DMs should probably pick this one up. If a player, I would say only look at this book or borrow your DM's copy if you have a character that has those applicable aspects to them. I hope you've enjoyed this review of Fizban's Treasury of Dragons for Dungeons & Dragons 5th edition. Make sure to follow us on our social medias. That's Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, and YouTube. Hit that like, subscribe, and get those notifications so you know when new content comes out. As always, thanks for listening. and happy gaming. You've been listening to Tabletop Arcanum, produced by Justin Taylor. This episode is hosted by Justin Taylor. Mixing and editing by Richard Geese. Original theme by Paul Moore and Issac Gilbert. Check the description for this episode's featured background music. You can follow us on most social media platforms. Be sure to like, subscribe, and follow, and leave us a review if you would. As always, thanks for listening.